Setting it up, setting it up.
Whoop, whoop.
Cross your fingers. All right, we are live.
All right. Good morning.
Okay, so good morning. So hi, welcome to NCIP's fourth and final episode of our spring shelter series. Obviously, a lot has happened in our communities over the last several weeks, and since our last episode that we had live with Ronnie's Sandoval in May after Mother's Day, facing these challenges of COVID-19, systemic racism, inequality, our clients, NCIP's clients, need us more than ever. I'm Lori Stone. I'm the External Relations Director with NCIP. Joining me is Zavion Johnson, exoneree extraordinaire and advocate, and Paige Kaneb, NCIP's Supervising Attorney extraordinaire as well. Today is Juneteenth, and our conversation today is addressing four themes, essentially: freedom, equality, healing, and community. We encourage your participation in this conversation, so please add your questions in the comments feed and we'll try to get to as many as we can in the next hour or so that we are live. But first, Zavion, welcome and thank you for participating in our episode, and Paige, thank you as well. But Zavion, can you please kick us off and tell us a bit about yourself, and realizing that people in the audience may or may not know your story, may or may not have heard from you. So give a little detail on who you are, including any details that you want to share about your wrongful conviction. So can you kick us off?
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Zavion Johnson. I am from Sacramento, California. In 2001, I was charged and ultimately convicted of a crime which I'm ultimately innocent of. And for everyone who hasn't had a chance or opportunity to kind of like read or know about my case, it was an unfortunate accident. And my daughter's life was lost due to this accident. Fast forward 16 years into a double life sentence, basically. I was ultimately exonerated. Two of the same expert witness who testified in my previous trial, they recanted their testimonies, and that's something that my attorney Paige can elaborate more on. So just going through all that, experiencing all that, being home and experiencing all the stuff that I have been experiencing. I've been home a little bit over 2 years now. This shelter in place series, this healing, is a good conversation for us right now as a country, as a nation. And I could just speak for myself as being an exoneree, having all my rights being stripped away, all my innocence taken away at 18 years of age. Fast forward to now, when is the healing gonna come? Like, and that's what I'm waiting on. When I stepped out of these doors from 16 years and 4 days of a wrongful conviction, I stepped out with the idea that, I'm free. I'm a citizen again. I can, do this. I can be this. I can experience this. But, all that have came with strongholds. I got introduced to the Innocence Project, their community. I got introduced to the Exonerated Nation, and, all the things that they have done has helped me tremendously in healing, right? But the main people or the main cause of my suffering or this pain, this wound or whatever, however you want to call it, my loss of innocence at the age of 18. And fast forward to 18 years or so now, they haven't done anything to involve their self with my healing, right? I got released inside of a paper bag, like, you know what I'm saying? I left home, or I left what I thought I was going to be coming back to. I had clothes, I had a family, I had, my baby's mother, like, you know what I'm saying? And all that stuff was taken from me, right? I was vilified, and I don't know how deep, I should go into this or what, but all I'm saying is what I felt then and what I should be feeling now, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
And all I want to do is just have a conversation, you know, and let's talk about it. You know what I'm saying? And if I'm able to vote now, which I have been able to, you know, I really want my vote to count. And I know it's more exonerees, especially in California, whose vote should count too. They got family members. And so let's have a real talk.
So about the freedom. So you were released on December 8th, 2017.
Yes.
Um, can you just talk a little bit about how that day went? Like what was your experience? How did you feel? Where did you go? What were the things that were going through your mind? You touched on it a little bit about, you know, thinking about stepping back into the life that you had before, right? What
Yeah.
is the difference? What did freedom mean to you that day? And what does freedom mean to you today? What does that look like to you?
So my choices, right? I'm limited in my choices. So that day when I got released, right? If the Innocence Project wasn't there, if my family wasn't there, or if nobody that was there that cared for me, right? What would I have done? I didn't get $200 gate money. I didn't get no shoes. I didn't get no bus ticket, right? And so also, what if all my family possibly didn't deal with me? Or the people that did deal with me, what if they were gone, right? And so that choice of even where to go sleep that night, simple as that. So that right there didn't make me honestly feel absolutely free, right? I was apprehended after my daughter's funeral. So, you know, let's talk about police brutality. I'm in a three-piece suit. Police is at the funeral watching me, right? I don't know this. I'm not hiding from anything, whatever, right? Upon leaving the funeral of burying my daughter, right? I get apprehended before I'm able to get home. 6 guns is drawn on me, right? I'm in a three-piece suit. Now, for that to take place and for that to happen, like I say, how come I couldn't get no police escort home to make sure I made it back home safely as a free man? I would had to wait 40 days to go and visit my daughter's gravesite because I wasn't all the way free because the DA needed that time to decide if he wanted to recharge me or not. So that right there is what I mean about they stripped everything away from me right then and there. As soon as the judge banged his gavel, I bet you I couldn't have stood up and tried to go kiss my baby mom or go kiss my mom or my grandma. None of that. They took me straight from point A to point B. And I didn't see or talk to nobody physically for 16 years and 4 days.
Mhm.
And they just dropped me back into the world. Like figure it out. Figure what out? You know? So that's where I'm at.
So, Paige, can you provide a little bit of context to NCIP's role and how NCIP is involved during the case and your involvement in Zav's case and who you worked with, and then also just this concept of aftercare and when he is released on December 8th, 2017, what happens from NCIP's perspective and how do we what do we do? If you can address some of that and provide some context, that would be great around this theme of freedom.
Yeah, okay. I may not remember all those questions, but I will
I'll
try.
keep reminding you, don't worry.
I had the great pleasure of meeting Zav in 2014. That was when his case made his way to me. I had been learning about shaken baby syndrome and abusive head trauma as a cause of wrongful conviction. And so that was one of the reasons I got Zav's case, because every witness agreed that Zav was a great, loving, kind, gentle father. And so the only evidence ever of guilt was that these experts believed that these findings couldn't happen from an accident and only could have been the cause of intentional abuse. And that was something doctors were trained and told, and repeated in courtrooms and have repeated in courtrooms. And Zav is one of hundreds to thousands of parents and caretakers who have lost their children, been ripped apart from their families and wrongfully imprisoned. for a tragedy, for a tragic accident. And in many cases also medical, like the babies can die of natural causes and end up with these same findings that doctors were taught could only come from abuse. So we had doctors, including the original doctors, look at the case again under current science. And I also had, so Aaron Agosrao from our office was key in all of this, as was Kecker, Van Ness, and Peters. We worked with some really great lawyers there, including Kari Tillery, Sarah Solomon, and Rhonda Andrew, who Zav lives with today. So the DA's office agreed that Zav had been wrongfully convicted, dismissed the charges. But freedom is a weird thing. You know, I think for most people in the, you know, those first moments of freedom, actually like walking out and breathing free air and hugging people without restraint and taking a hot shower. I remember Zav taking a really long one, are, you know, amazing and overwhelming and wonderful. But I think also there's this issue of expectations, right? Like nobody, so at NCIP, we've started in honor of Juneteenth, this 21-day racial challenge. And one of the articles we're reading for today is from the 1619 project that the New York Times did, which is, if you haven't read it, really incredible, you should. One of the comments in the article was that, you know, Black people have seen the worst of America and yet they believe in its best. And I think exonerees have a similar thing with our system, right? That they've seen the worst of our criminal justice system and yet somehow still believe in its best and expect that they're going to be compensated and apologized to and taken care of in the ways we should, right? We should, as Zav was saying, if the state is the one that harms you, the state should also engage in the healing process. But they don't really, at least not now, currently, and historically. And you know, we certainly see echoes of this throughout our country right now, right? All of the systemic racism and ideas of anti-Blackness and white supremacy. You know, white people, light-skinned people are only starting to engage with these ideas and with the healing that needs to happen from all of this oppression. And it's, you know, just even seeing the number of emails I got about Juneteenth this year versus last year, and the number of people who are talking about it and celebrating is really remarkable, and also sad that it took some, you know, it's terrible that it took something like George Floyd's murder to get us to be more aware. Okay, so sorry. So what does NCIP do in healing? I mean, we were there when Zav got out. We were all waiting for him. We went and had a celebration with him. He wanted Popeyes and strawberry soda. Is that what it was?
Strawberry soda, yes.
So we had a celebration in his hotel room funded by Kecker, Van Ness, and Peters. Zav learned he couldn't sleep for a couple days, and
I deal with that too.
Still today, Zav.
Yeah. Yep.
I had a bunch of friends staying with me a little bit thereafter, and Zav came, and with all these kids running around yelling and screaming, just passed out on the couch all of a sudden, I think from having not slept in a while. And we do have, you know, we have these retreats and times of getting exonerees together, which Zav, you can speak to, I think has been a big part of the healing process, but we're certainly not experts in healing, and we certainly can't be the only party involved. And I think that's one of the things that Zav, you've been feeling, right? Is that
California needs to focus on aftercare, like, you know, because of the simple fact, like, prison is there because they felt like it should be there, right? And so what is to happen if you make a mistake? What is to happen if you were wrong? Like, you know, so there should be stuff set up, like when veterans, you know, not to take anything away from them, you know, but they went to go sign up for that. Like, I didn't go sign up to go spend half my life in prison.
Well, not all veterans. A lot of them were drafted into the wars and had no choice, but
yes. even the people that even still go sign up, you know, the people that's from ROTC and they absolutely go to sign up, they come home and they are welcomed. Like, you know, I don't even feel as though I'm a welcome citizen back in, I don't even live in my own city. I'm from Sacramento. I don't even live there because of the simple fact that, one, I don't trust the police. Two, it don't feel like home no more because of all of the stuff. And the aftercare, that's just what they should focus on. Just like you guys are able to know that we need some type of helping hand, just like our families know that we need some type of helping hand, California should know that too. There's enough information, there's enough resources, there's for sure enough money to make sure that something is done. It's only 207 of us now, 206 of us now. I mean, come on. It's not the whole California. It's not. So
Yep. Zav, the other day we were talking, you mentioned when you were growing up and thinking about your neighborhood and just thinking now about sort of that broader community and what it means to be community. Can you talk about that and how, what community means to you?
oh,
Who
the
is your
community
community
versus neighborhood.
support?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So basically, I'm a delivery driver, right? And I noticed in different neighborhoods, right? I always assumed that's just what an area is called, a neighborhood, because you know your neighbor lives next to you. But no, they have areas called communities. And guess what? The communities pay for their police force, they pay for their street signs, they can name their streets damn near whatever they want, excuse my French. Um, and so therefore there is a disconnect, I'm sure. And so therefore, how come it can't be the same for us? Like we should have our own committee. We should have our own people that speak for us. We should have our own people that know how to take care of us, because obviously California don't. They're only concerned with getting you from point A to point B, and that's it. We're not cows, we're not cattle, we're not monkeys in a zoo. We're human beings. And so therefore we should be treated as such, especially if we're wronged.
Mhm. So what are some of the things, both Zav and Paige, that you would wish from an organizational standpoint, from an individual standpoint, that the state of California would take action on and would do? Because I think as we look to mobilize our community, because that's what we need to do, we need to mobilize, we need to organize, we need to take action. This is what we need to do. What would you want from, Zav? You can start. What would you want from the state of California?
I mean, to me, it don't sound as simple, or it might sound simple. To me, it's conversation. That way it gives me the choice to be creative. It gives me the choice to say, okay, I can go sit down in school for 6 months and don't have to worry about nothing, instead of having to worry about work, having to worry about what I'm going to eat, and then categorize that on top of my PTSD, and have to study. So that right there, if they would have just did what, it's something that's written in the law. I didn't write it down in the law that, you know, it went from $100 to $140 a day, that, you know what I'm saying, people are to get compensated, right? And so if they was to do that and people were still hearing from me, then therefore, okay, he's crying wolf or whatever the fact is. And so right now I don't feel like I have no choices except for figuring it out, and I'm in survival mode. And, you know, I've been in survival mode for 16 years fighting. Like, you know, I wasn't an attorney, but guess what? I went to them law libraries and I tried to figure that out for years. And so to come home now and having to figure out like what type of profession I want to do, you know, I love to write. I love to, you know, be creative, and I'm lacking in that, you know, because of the simple fact that there's nothing wrong with me going to work. You know, I absolutely love it. You know what I'm saying? And I work as hard as probably 2 or 3 people. But at the same time, I still want a choice. I still want a choice to say, hey, I might need to go to counseling for a whole year because I got some stuff in my mind, probably, like, you know what I mean? And that's as simple as I could put it. Right now, I don't even got health care. And so therefore, you know, if they took care of everything that they needed to take care of, I could be able to go and take care of my health care. You know, I'm wearing, so yes, that's just where I'm at.
Mhm. So Paige, can you just walk through a little bit about the compensation in California and any other bills that are out there pending, that laws that have been passed that provide support to exonerees, just to set context for some of the folks in the audience that maybe don't know of what things are out there and then where the gaps are.
Yeah, so compensation in California is not automatic, which is something that NCIP has been working on in our policy efforts, meaning that even though you prove in court that you're wrongfully convicted, that you wouldn't have been convicted had the jury known all of the truth, even though the charges are dismissed and you are constitutionally an innocent person, that's not enough in California. You also have to prove your innocence, which has turned out to be, proving a negative in theory we know is impossible, but in fact it's turned out, as in having this statute, that almost, like, of the 200 and some exonerees, I think less than 10 of them, maybe 15 of them at most, have actually been compensated. It's also just a torturous process for people to go through, for exonerees, having already been through all of this harm and finally, what I would have thought was sort of their day of justice and reckoning, but the fact is the exoneration then becomes not the last thing, right? There becomes this other long, drawn out fight in which many people are harmed all over again. So that's one problem. We are still trying to fix it and had a bill going this year that would have helped. But unfortunately, everything that was not related to COVID and homelessness was pushed till next year, which, totally makes sense, but is also, for someone like Zav, means yet another year where he'll be in this survival mode, as he said. Exonerated Nation, which was founded by Obie Anthony, has also been working on bills for education and housing upon release. Those, like the housing, Zav wasn't in place when Zav got out, so that wasn't available to him. And thankfully, Rhonda came through and saved the day. But the fact is, people get out of prison for crimes they didn't commit after 16, 20 years with nothing. I mean, they've lost all that time to build any kind of wealth, saving, Social Security, anything like that, to have built relationships, homes, places to live, accumulated stuff. And then, as Ab said, you get kicked out and are like, okay, go ahead and let's pretend everything's equal now and start fresh, even though you're 16 years behind. I think also, defund the police has had me really thinking about, this is a point that John Eldon from After Innocence, another great organization, has made for years, that, CDCR, our California prison budget is $10 billion every year. If you add to that all of LA's police is like 1.8 billion. So, if you think about all of the money we spend to arrest, incarcerate, prosecute people, and yet we're not spending any or almost any amount of tax dollars on fixing these problems, on addressing underlying causes, on looking for the errors. We know we make mistakes. 10% of death row 10% of people on death row have been exonerated and shown innocent. That's like an insanely high number. And yet we're not devoting an equal amount of resources, or even a tiny percentage of the resources, to looking for those errors and then fixing them and apologizing for them. And the other piece that I would love to see is more restorative justice. So not just, throughout, right? I think, like, had Zav really been tried, or had this been looked at by his actual peers, everyone knew that he would have never done something like this, right? Everyone knew he was innocent. And so how can we work those ideas in, but also, if thinking about it from the exoneration perspective, how do we engage the state in that? Why aren't district attorneys sitting down with exonerees as part of the system to talk about what went wrong and apologize on behalf of the state and or for their part in it? Why doesn't that happen with the prison system? Oh, sorry for 16 years of abuses and locking you in a cage. Turns out we should have been treating you like a human being all that time. And in fact, all prisoners, regardless of what they've done, should be treated like human beings. And we know, there are some great restorative justice projects like Insight Prison Project that are doing amazing work, and we know they're really successful. So I think putting our money and attention and funding towards things we know work, or that even if we haven't tried them yet, at least it's something like right now what we're doing isn't working, right? And we know it's not working. And so why are we continuing to do it? And that's another thing I think in this picture of what we could do differently is really important for us to be thinking about and reimagining.
Yep.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like either they don't know, it don't show, or they just don't care. And so we need to put people in place. So it's one of my exoneree brothers said this: how do you go back to the person that robbed you and ask for your stuff back? How do you do that? And then if you do, what are you going to get back? You're not going to get everything back, right? So therefore, we absolutely need to have people in place that are familiar with the law, that know what's going on basically, and will be empathetic. Like, it's a lot of times when people hear that I'm wrongfully convicted or I was in prison for whatever, they cringe. Sometimes it might just be out of don't know what to say. Sometimes it comes with a stigma too. And that's sad and it sucks because of the simple fact, like, this is something that happened to me. And I feel as though I am a victim, honestly. So, I just don't like to carry that mentality, because of the simple fact that I am a survivor, so therefore, I'm always going to try to figure it out.
Mm-hmm. So Zav, since 2017, December 8th, 2017, what are the things that you have done that have helped you? Who have you connected with? I know that you've done a lot of work. You've been to the Capitol, you've done so much advocacy work. What are the things that have helped you?
So yes, big shout out to my brother, Obi Anthony. Big shout out to Exonerated Nation. So like I say, about 40 or so days being home, I got invited to go to the Capitol. Me and a few other exoneree brothers and sisters, we all went there to have a voice. We all went there to, speak. Mind you, I'm 40 days home. And so, all these things that were supposed to be implemented to help me, thanks to Obi's law, did not transpire. They didn't fully come to my aid, right? And so therefore, I went and was able to go to the Capitol and voice my opinion about that. Things changed, not for me personally, but that's absolutely fine. We're starting a conversation, and that's what it's always about: change, right? It might not happen for you, but it could happen behind you, and that's absolutely fine. But so what kind of happened from there is I started going to gatherings for NCIP. We did some storytelling workshops. And then I got invited to sit on Exonerated Nation's advisory board. I've had a chance to do numerous speakings here, there, travel a few places. And so that has kind of been my comfort, to just know that my voice can actually be heard now. My voice can actually possibly, affect people and change, so that has been a good thing. And so I just want to say thank you guys again for allowing the platform to be there for me, and the rest of us exonerees. I've been working pretty much full time. I'm employed now. Let's see, what else?
Talk about just the community of exonerees getting together, the importance of that
Yeah, so
connection.
the reconvening, that's the word I found out is called. So that is for surely needed. The Innocence, the After Innocence Network, we usually go to the annual conferences. I'm sad we didn't go to Atlanta this year. I mean, Chicago this year. But you know, we all reconvene. We all have a chance to have opportunity to just be in a place to where you can fully have a sense of healing. Like, you know, there's no place like like that. Every time we get a chance to reconvene. So this COVID stuff is tearing me up inside. Like I'm on this roller coaster to where um I need to be like around people that I know love me. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so this right here, it works for me in a sense, but it don't work. You know, I'm just excited to continue this process wherever it takes me, wherever my voice leads me. I'm not going to be quiet because things are not right. If I'm quiet, then that means I'm comfortable, and I'm not. And yes, let's keep it going.
Mhm. And so for exonerees who are new, so we this year NCIP helped to free 6 individuals. And so for the new exonerees, what would you say? What are some of the pieces of advice, and from your perspective, even if it's not working for you, even if it didn't work for you, what would work for the next person? What's the thing that is helpful to people, and what
Just
you don't want them to
always,
forget to do?
always know that you got the tools, right? So, and when I say that is, you got to think we were our own accountants, we were our own bodyguards. We learned how to meditate. We were our own physical expert, physical, what do you call it? Like training, whatever, experts, whatever that is. And so, you know, all these things, right? We were able to hold on to, tune up, and still able to survive, right? And so just respect the process. You're going to have your bad days, right? Don't take it personal, right? So just know, like, it's nothing personal. It's always business. And so therefore always just try to just take care of your business. Some days you might not feel like taking care of your business. And just if you can try to work out a dialect with your employer. And I can say PTSD is real. I love to work. I enjoy going to work, right? But sometimes I don't feel the best to be in the environment work, right? And so I would have to either suffer loss of pay, or I would have to suffer, if I miss too much, a loss of this job opportunity, right? Just because of the simple fact, like I say, dealing with PTSD, dealing with surviving, dealing with just all these different things on my plate, don't always come easy every day. So yeah.
So some of the things, when you were 16 years in prison wrongfully, what were the things that got you through and helped you, you know, have hope and get you through that time? And are some of those things that you carry through with you today?
So the main thing, so innocence, that for surely it is a strong motivator, right? And your mind is very, very strong, right? It could be stronger, it could be very fragile. You could, you know, go all in, or you can go all out, right? And so what I did was it came in stages. I always knew that I needed to figure out, how can I let my voice be heard? How can I for surely prove my innocence, right? So that is what I turned into the learning cell. I turned my cell into a learning cell, basically. I missed, you know, day room sometimes, I missed football, whatever it was, to make sure I needed to get to the law library to figure all this stuff out. And sometimes that'll just come back with just can you imagine just looking at a blank piece of paper you didn't spent, at a blank piece of paper, you didn't spend so much time, so much hours, hard-earned money too, stamps. Like, you know, stamps is worth a lot of money in jail. Like that and cigarettes used to be whatever. Um, so learning, I always try to educate myself. And then, you know, you gotta also focus on your self-healing. Like if you're not able to take care of yourself, um, everything that you're faced with once you step outside your cell, because that's the only time you really got peace, once that door is closed. You got to worry about everything else. And so if you're not taking care of yourself physically, mentally, all that stuff, then you're going to not be able to withstand that. So always figure out what it is that you like to do and spend that doing before you go to work. Spend that do before you go out into deal with chaos and religion. And I don't want to say like I'm just religious. I'm very spiritual. I believe in God. And so that right there is what kept me. And the fact that I knew I needed to get back home to, see my daughter. And mind you, like I said, I waited 40 days till I knew for surely I was innocent. Right after my court date, right after the judge banged his gavel. I believe, did we even go eat first? No. So yeah, we went straight there. And so yeah. So just always try to just focus on that. Like we are survivors. We got the tools. We just need to keep them sharp, focus on the process, and just know that you got it. You could do it.
So as far as like healing and kind of thinking about how we as a community, as a broad community, what do you think, and what is our next action step as individuals together? We have talked, you and I have talked a bit in the last several days about just being together and the importance of being together in this. I think just being able to do and take action. People want to make a difference, and we want to make a difference. And what are the things that you think for your fellow exonerees are going to make that difference?
Vote me for president. I can. Well, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm right in the middle. I'm gonna help everybody. But no, just seriously, our voice, our vote. So like, we see like they can't get it done. They in control of almost everything. T-Mobile just shut down. Like I couldn't even call people at work. I'm sitting in front of their house like, hey, like what's going on? So for them to be in the positions that they are and they still don't get it right, is how many people here in America, and it's only so many people in Washington where everything is supposed to be done at. Like that's supposed to be the magical Wizard of Oz place. So all I'm saying is we need to educate ourselves more. We need to educate ourselves better. We need to speak up more, and we need to just fully be ready for change. And it's going to take courage. It's going to take courage. It's not going to be somebody that wears blue or red, somebody that's, I don't even know how much money they spend on ads to say who was right or who was wrong, or to make this person look this way or that way. But that money could be spent somewhere else for surely. Like, honestly, it can be. And so I just think like it has to be something done. Like maybe we could have our own democracy. I don't know, and I hope nobody comes looking for me, but yes, just our voice, our vote. So maybe we need to just all speak more, we could have our own website somewhere. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely mobilize, organize, vote. So Paige, you mentioned a couple resources when you were talking. Are there other resources that you've come across that might be helpful for people listening and who are on social media here now that would be helpful in educating themselves about the issues around wrongful convictions, but also just about what's happening in the community and how it's related to your story, Zav, and inequality in general and systemic racism and all of that, all of what we're dealing with in all of our communities? Are there other resources that you want to shout out?
Oh man, there are a lot of them.
And I should mention that we do have on our website on ncip.org, we do have an ongoing list that we keep updating of, sites and videos and things like that, and we'll keep updating them. But if there's anything that comes to mind now, and Zav, you too, that you've come across, it could just be a simple video, an article, something on TikTok. Zav, I know you on TikTok. Things that are about that.
I mean, right off top, I can't really think of nobody else outside of you guys, Exonerated Nation, John Eldon's, what he's doing. Yeah, there's no one else that and maybe because I don't know if I'm not looking hard enough or what, but it's just, I don't know.
I don't think, yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a lot, sorry, I didn't mean there's a lot specific to exonerates. I sort of meant more there's a lot about, you know, systemic racism and what's happening today that I would definitely recommend. Trevor Noah did an incredible, one of his episodes on the Daily Show from home, just talking about, you know, this week of Amy Cooper, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and sort of what all of those things together really highlighted. And also I think one of the things that, and it really builds up to this, so you should watch the whole thing, but I thought one of the points he made that was so incredible is like, you know, there are people who are upset about the looting of buildings, but why aren't they upset about the looting of Black bodies? Because that's what America has been doing for 400 years. Two of my absolute favorite books that talk about systemic racism, innocence, and constitutional rights all together are Devil in the Grove, which is one of the best books I've ever read, and also talks about Thurgood Marshall, who was already one of my heroes, but is even more so having read that book. And then the other one is Contempt of Court, which is the story of the first time the US Supreme Court took up the discussion of whether constitutional rights should apply in state courts. And it was based on the case of a man who was very blatantly innocent, a Black man accused of raping a white woman. He had like 19 alibi witnesses, and yet within 3 days was sentenced to death. He was eventually lynched, even though the Supreme Court had issued a stay on his execution. He was murdered, and people literally pinned a note to his body saying, "Come get your N-word now, Supreme Court." And the Supreme Court held contempt proceedings for the sheriffs and the law enforcement officers who orchestrated and allowed the lynching to happen. And it's this book about this completely innocent man who was murdered, which was a very common thing early in our country's history, about the incredible lawyers who risked their lives to fight for them, to Black men who could never go back to their hometowns because they had stood up for this innocent man. And the first time the Supreme Court really engaged in the racism that was going on in state courts and the need for federal review and constitutional protections. I mean, and that's really the history of constitutional rights and federal review in state courts and state convictions, is all about the insane racism that that infected our criminal justice system throughout. I mean, it was designed by design, and now it is still by design, right? We think it might be like, I think, and sometimes we talk about it as if it's accidental, or we just need to tinker with some things around the system to fix it. But we have to recognize that it was really designed this way. The 1619 Project by the New York Times is incredible. I think there are actually a lot of resources right now. If you look up like equity challenges, and as I mentioned, NCIP is doing this 21-day racial equity challenge, or it gives you readings for each day. Anything by Ta-Nehisi Coates is a must read. I've been rereading his Atlantic article, The Case for Reparations, anything the Atlantic publishes, basically. But I think understanding reparations and the importance of it, and understanding this like continuum that of oppression that Black people have experienced, that it's not something that was just in the past, but has been ongoing and has never really stopped. And I have many more, but I'll only give you one more. There's a PBS series, it's free right now on Amazon Prime, called The African Americans, Many Rivers to Cross. It's narrated by this professor, Henry Louis Gates, who's just incredible. And it's, I think one of the most amazing things about it is it does this perfect mix of not shying away from how horrible the oppression was, but also highlighting the incredible creativity and resilience and hope and culture that Black people managed to create and expressed throughout all of these different stages of oppression. And so it's really this, it's this beautiful message of pride and hope, while also giving you, I mean, for me, it was a ton of stuff I didn't know about sort of both this continuum and the just the details of how awful basically every point in American history the system has been for Black people. And yet, you know, as I was saying, the 1619 article reflected on too, that, you know, having seen the worst, somehow Black people have still managed to believe in the best and be hopeful, right? And I think you're seeing that even today, that despite everything, there's still this hope that we can be better, that we can live up to America's ideals, that we can live up to our declaration that it says all men are created equal, but ideally that all people are created equal. And you know, gender is yet another thing we've got to attack in here. But I think, you know, racism first, and that includes, you know, Black women being at the lowest paid of all people in our country in salaries.
Thank you for those additional resources. I want to do a shout out to Joe Diaz, who's watching now, and he mentioned, Zav, the Healing Justice Retreats as a good resource. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes, I forgot about that. I went in December. Shout out to Jennifer Thompson too. The Healing Justice Retreat. So yeah, that was something very, very a nice experience. So yeah, that right there focuses on bringing a whole form of healing from the inside out, basically. And that retreat was deep. And that right there, you'll have to go back a couple times to like fully, you know, be immersed in it and fully gather stuff from that. But yeah, the Healing Justice Retreat, yes.
Mm-hmm. So we'll post, add all of those additional resources that Paige mentioned. We'll add those to our resource list. Again, it's on ncip.org. I do also want to mention that we are going live with our Justice for All virtual experience site next week on June 25th. Zavion is a participant in that virtual experience. Do you want to just give a little glimpse on what we did yesterday and what your participation in it is, just very briefly? Don't give too much away.
I'm the MC. That's that right there.
Yep, that's good. Yeah.
Yes, I'm the MC. So
yep,
you guys come support, show up. You won't be able to hug me or see my dimples, but just come support all these awesome ladies here at NCIP, all the work they're doing. Shout out to Linda Starr, Cookie. I miss you guys. And yeah.
Next week. And so I do want to push just a little bit further with you, Zav, because you mentioned yesterday the gala is such an important part of coming together, right? That coming togetherness. And I want to be able to close with sort of that concept in mind of coming together and the importance of that. And can you just, in closing, sort of take that on and say a little bit more about the importance of that hug and that love and support and respect that you feel?
All right. Well, yeah. So basically this year, like I said, I hate that we didn't make it to Chicago, and I hate that the gala's not going on. So that place, being there with the gala, being there at the gala, just being underneath that roof. Talk about a place filled with nothing but love and support and a true sense of empowerment. Like, and you guys don't even be with us. So that I'm really just talking about from our point of view. And so I don't know if you guys can just imagine if we are all standing on one side and we just look across the room and just know like, oh yeah, that's my attorney right there. That's my attorney right there. This lady, she does a lot of good. He do a lot of good. And so just to know like, nobody's there gonna harm you. Nobody, you know, you can have as much fun, do whatever you want, say whatever you want. And it needs to be that type of involvement, that type of excitement, that type of love everywhere I go. That's what I want. But I'm just me.
Yep. So Kari is also viewing right now too, and he says,
Coach,
"Yep."
what's up? Better have a good question too.
Yeah, he says, "Good to see you, Zav." And again, from Paige, do you want to just talk just to reiterate the importance of our pro bono partners and what Kari means to Zav and to you and what his involvement was?
Yeah, so Kari was just a crucial part of the team. He actually rewrote what had been a very dense medical brief initially into a real legal brief that resulted in both the DA's office and the court recognizing that Zav was innocent and should not be in prison. Kari works at Kecker, Van Ness, and Peters, which I mentioned earlier. They have been key partners in a few of our exonerations and are also our key partners in some current cases, including Clifton Jones' case, which is almost tragically identical to Zav's, and Stephen Dossman's case as well. Both of those cases, we have commutation applications going for. So please, everyone who's watching, if you haven't signed already, sign those. We are asking for these men to be released immediately. But we have, I'm also going to give out a shout out to Morrison and Forrester, who's one of our other most regular pro bono partners. Having these firms work with us is just incredible. We get the benefit of their brilliant brains, their amazing strategy. They also pay for lots of stuff, which is really wonderful. Kari was also crucial in getting the doctors' reports to really explain, why they had reached the original conclusions and why they were changing. I don't know, there's so many reasons it's wonderful to have our pro bono partners, but we really especially appreciate Kecker and Morrison and Forrester, and Kari has been, as he knows, I try and get him on all of my cases, so.
So Paige mentioned our commutation applications. We have 4 individuals with commutation applications. You can visit ncip.org, and there is a button that you can go and sign your name in support and learn a little bit more about the 4 individuals and their cases on the site. You can also, at ncip.org, go to the Justice for All and register to attend the free virtual experience that opens up next week on June 25th. There's also, we're really excited that we launched an online marketplace just yesterday. And so we have some NCIP swag and some exclusive items on there as well. So that's just another way to support our work and moving forward here. Any final thoughts from both of you? I'm going to ask both of you just to wrap it up, and we're going to close with final thoughts. We'll start with Paige and close with Zav. Paige.
It's a time where there is so much happening, and it's hard to wrap up. I don't really have any closing thoughts. I guess I would just say I hope you all are honoring Juneteenth in your own special ways and really engaging in this process of reimagining and redefining what our country really is and what we want it to be, and making it into that dream. And Zav, I'm glad that today one of the voices we got to honor was yours.
Thank you. Can I kind of close with something that I wrote? It's real quick.
Absolutely.
And it just kind of talks about what we're all kind of going through, or at least what I go through as a young Black male, leaving from home, leaving to go to work, being out at night, not being able to jog, just all these might just be me personally, but I just wanted to just kind of just leave on this and just let everyone know. I'm reading from this paper. To leave home safe and come back that way, that's what my mama would say. But unknown to her, Your baby comes into a world scrape. Yes, funny how fate makes no mistakes. It'll put you down if you don't follow its way. Yes, life is funny that way. If I never have more to say, profound or either way, please just don't let me die before I wake. And so I would just kind of just say, like, always show love and continue on to just be positive. That's all I could really say.
Thank you, Zav, and thank you, Paige, for participating, and thank you, everyone, for watching. And we will be back in the summer for a summer series. But please register and come experience our Justice for All virtual online experience starting next week. So thank you all.
Thank you, guys. See y'all soon.
Great.
Bye.
Bye.